There is a supernatural world that surrounds us, and sometimes it manifests to people like you and me. You'll hear stories about this and so much more right here on Supernatural Confrontations. Cindy joins us today. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you have not subscribed, hit the little subscribe button. We'll get into Cindy's testimony. I think you'll find it interesting. But first, a word from our trusted sponsor. Collagen may do more than simply help turn back the clock on how your skin looks. The latest research suggests it may also assist with building muscle and losing fat when combined with exercise. Folks, I take it every day, which is why I highly recommend trying it out for yourself. It is designed to help combat some of the visible effects of aging, bring back a youthful glow, and support healthy weight management. It uses a groundbreaking formula that combines 5 critically important types of collagen in one easy-to-scoop mix. The amazing mixture I use is sourced from grass-fed, pasture-raised cattle, cage-free kitchens, and sustainable fish. Users of this non-GMO, gluten-free, and hormone-free protein powder rave about how it helped them improve how their skin, hair, and nails look and how their joints feel, while also helping with their weight management goals. The best part is it's tasteless and odorless, which means it'll go with your favorite drinks and recipes. Folks, check it out. I take it every day. Go to healthwithla.com. That's healthwithla.com. Use my link in the description box below to get 51% off my favorite collagen. Plus, be sure to use my link in the description because every purchase using that link gets free VIP live health and fitness coaching for life. You can't beat it, folks. Go to healthwithla.com. That's healthwithla.com. Cindy joins us. She's got a story, and I think you'll find it interesting. I'm going to bring her in right now. Cindy, thanks so much for joining us on Supernatural Confrontations. So something happened. Tell us about that, please.
Well, I had a near-death experience, and I actually went to heaven, and I came back, as you can see. It was many years ago. My husband had started dialysis and was very sick, and anyway, I had left work, and there was a lady that was following really close to me. She hit my car, my seat collapsed, and I blacked out. And when I came to, I was above my car looking down at it. And a light took my attention ahead of me. So I was looking at this light, and I felt like I was being drawn to it. And I felt a sense of a presence to my left. And I looked to my left, and there was an angel beside me, and she was like the size of like 2 people, and had like, I just remember like a flowy kind of gown and long, it looked like long hair, but it was mostly all just like light. I didn't see color on her. I just saw like light, kind of like a ghost image. But she led me into the tunnel. And I went through the tunnel, and about halfway through the tunnel, I had a sensation of someone on my right. And I looked over, and it was my dad's mother, who had passed many years before, when she was living with us. And she went with us to the end of the tunnel. And then she had to stop there. And I had a sensation, I saw, like, felt something pull my attention over to the right behind where my grandmother was. And there was a young boy there. And I had an impression in me that it was my brother, who was a couple of years younger than me, that died as a baby. And I saw him as a young like a teenager. He was like late teens, early 20s. And then the angel led me a little bit further. And as we were going further, closer to the light, I saw like brilliant colors all around, and there were colors of the rainbow, and there were colors that I had never seen before. Everything was sparkling, and then I saw people kind of like to my left at a distance. They weren't like right here at me, and I didn't know who they were, but I did know that there were people there. And then we got a little bit closer to that light, and the angel told me I needed to go in where that light was, that she couldn't go in there. And okay, so I went in, and as soon as I went in, I fell flat on my face because I felt, I knew in my spirit that it was Jesus.
Wow.
In front of me. And then I noticed the nail punctures, wounds in his feet, and then I saw his hands, and I knew that it was Jesus. I mean, inside of me, I already knew. But he told me to stand up, so I stood up, and he said, "It's not your time. You have to go back." And I begged, "Please let me stay." And,
yeah, exactly.
and he said, "No, you have to go back." And I begged like 3 times, like Peter denied him 3 times. I didn't put that connection together until after I had been back a long time. But then I begged the 3rd time, and I said, "Please let me stay." And he said, "No, you have to go back because you have a purpose. There's something that you have to do." And I said, "Oh, okay." And as soon as I said, "Oh, okay," boom, I would like zoom right back through the tunnel. And I remember distinctly when I woke up that the main thing I felt was how heavy the body was, and the pain that I had from the seat collapsing or whatever. But it was like, I lay there for a few seconds going, what just happened to me? And the girl that hit my car, luckily my car knocked off. It was a 5-speed, so it kind of stopped on its own. And she was at the passenger side knocking on the window. "Are you okay? Are you okay?" Because I had my doors locked. She couldn't get at me. So I got out of the car, and I'm like, I think I'm okay. So we exchanged insurance information, and I looked at the back of the car. I left. Okay. Make a long story short, after that, I kept praying, "Lord, please tell me what that purpose is." And it took about 3 months, and I was sitting at a stoplight going back to work from lunch. And because I had gone home for lunch, sitting at a stoplight, and I heard an audible voice say, "You have to be with Charlie," who was my husband. "You have to be with him through his illness." And it was so audible, like I'm talking to you now.
Right.
I looked in my rearview mirror.
Nobody
and I
there.
even turned around and looked in the back seat because I thought maybe somebody got in my car. And then it hit me that it was the Holy Spirit talking to me. And I was just like kind of in shock. So I went on back to work. And then afterwards, I kept going, okay, well, I know that I have to be with him through his illness because he was on dialysis just the year before he had gotten on dialysis. And I was like, okay, time goes by, quite a few years. He was on dialysis for 8 years. Oh. And before he passed away in 2009, he had to go to the hospital, and he was there for 7 weeks. And 4 of that, he was in ICU. The last 2 weeks, he was in a step-down unit. And the doctor said that he had cancer in his lung and had that removed, and then had a brain tumor 6 months later, had that removed. And They thought they got it all. Anyway, the doctor said the cancer cells the cells were changing and the cancer was coming back. And he said, my suggestion, because he was in really bad condition, they had to take out a foot of his intestines because it had died and wasn't working. So yeah, he was in pretty bad shape. And while he was in ICU, he had multiple strokes. So he recommended stopping treatment and just, them giving him medication to help him ease over the other side a little easier. Well, to make this a little shorter, while he decided to make that decision himself, he couldn't talk, but he could nod yes and no to answer questions. He made the decision to stop his treatment. My brother came to visit and whispered in my ear, can I talk to him and pray with him? And I said, of course. And so he went up to the head of the bed and leaned over and was talking to him and praying with him. And when he was leaving, he came by me and he said, he accepted Christ. And he said, well, I'm going to go ahead and go now. And he hugged me and he said, bye. So I walked up to the side of his bed and I asked him, is he right? Did you accept Christ? And he nodded, yes. And I said, you couldn't have given me a better gift, that I'll see you on the other side when it's my time to go. And he nodded and then closed his eyes. And he didn't open his eyes anymore for me until after, he had already passed. So by getting the message from Jesus that I had a purpose, I believe my purpose was that if it wasn't for me being in my husband's life, my brother wouldn't have known him.
That's right.
And wouldn't have been able to come to the hospital for him to accept Christ.
Right.
So I believe, what I saw is true. We are going to go to the other side. When after I was on the other side, I had no pain. And I just remember overwhelming love that we don't have here. It's unconditional love.
It's a whole different
what we
thing.
have here.
Let me ask you some questions. You when you look to your left, your first visual contact, so you see an angel, and this being is twice the size of a normal human being.
Right.
We've heard this before, but you say she. Now, in the Bible, there's no female angels that we're aware of. How do you know it was a she?
It may be a male, but I just had the sense that it was a she. It had long flowing hair. It could have been a man with long hair. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean that's so okay. So we'll leave that on the back burner. There's another dynamic to this which is sort of bothersome. The fact that your grandmother shows up and then she doesn't go to the other side. Tell us about that.
She went to the end of the tunnel with me.
Right, but then she couldn't cross over.
Well, she couldn't go where I was going.
Right.
I think they were sending me into the throne room, because when even the angel went a little further, then the angel said, I can't go any further. She wasn't, or he, whoever it was, the angel wasn't able to go with me in there. And the light was just really brilliant and it was like Jesus kind of come out of that light. I mean, I know he is the light, but it was like he appeared from that light, or like he was coming. I saw the light and then him.
When he communicated with you, was it audible voice?
I don't think so. I just remember knowing that he was telling me to stand up and that I had a purpose. Whether it was audible or in my head, I don't know.
Yeah. And so you were there for what, maybe 4 or 5 minutes?
Probably, because when my seat collapsed, she had just hit my car, and then when I came to in my body, she was at the window knocking on the window. So I don't think she had been there very long, because there wasn't an ambulance there. Because if I had been in the car longer than just a couple of minutes or whatever, then there probably would have been an ambulance. trying to get at me.
Let's circle back to your grandmother. Was she a young woman, an old woman, middle age? What did she look like?
She was probably in her 60s, maybe. I don't even know how old she was when she passed, but I do know she had gray hair and she had cancer when she died.
Did she say anything to you when you were in the tunnel?
No. And my brother that I saw too, that I feel like was my brother,
right,
didn't speak to me either. But they did know that I was there because they both looked at me. And she was standing beside me and walking with me and, or whatever, floating through the tunnel.
Yeah, the tunnel is, a lot of people go in the tunnel. I mean, there's no doubt about that. It's pretty amazing. So, I mean, the end game here is that your brother shows up at the hospital. Your husband, for all practical purposes, is on his deathbed. There's no getting out of this. And he accepts the Lord. He accepts Jesus as his personal Savior.
Right.
And then you said he never opened his eyes again. I mean, was that it or what?
No, I think it was another day before he actually passed. But it was like a day or two before he passed that my brother came to the hospital.
That's amazing.
But he never did open his eyes anymore for me after that.
Okay.
I think it's because he realized he was gonna pass, and he didn't want to do that to me. He didn't want to leave me behind.
Right.
I think that's part of it. Is that he was trying to deal with his his coming death. I think in his mind that he just wanted to just close his eyes and go to sleep.
Wow. Well, Cindy, thanks so much for joining us on Supernatural Confrontations. It's a great testimony, and of course, it's got a very happy ending. There's some dynamics that I realize some people will agree with, some people will not agree with. That's okay.
Right.
We don't know all the particulars, so I put stuff like this on the back burner because I don't know.
Yeah. Right.
But the bottom line is the end. The very last chapter of the story is incredible because your husband comes over, your purpose is fulfilled, and your brother shows up, and then he hears the gospel and he comes to the Lord, and that's a great ending. Well, there you have it, folks. Thanks so much for tuning in to Supernatural Confrontations. I will be in Missouri in June. In May, we're actually shooting number 7 in the film series. We are working on number 6, which is on cattle mutilations. I am looking at some very graphic pictures. For those of you who aren't aware of this, that there were 6 cows in Texas that had their tongues excised from the back of their throats. They were mutilated. All the blood was drained. Some of them had their sex organs cored out. I realize this is horrific stuff, but now it's becoming national news once again. So we are the only Christian ministry that I'm aware of that very soon will have 6 films in our series. So you can watch all 5. And of course, our crop circle is number 5. That's available. You can go to our streaming.lamarzulli.net, streaming.lamarzulli.net. And I hope to see you in Missouri. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. We'll be back here on Monday morning with another supernatural confrontation.